If it's the kids and it's Barry Manilow, you know it's Friday here on the Jerry Doyle Show. That'll be me, JD, your 6'3" ATM of Informacion, your aggregator-in-chief, scouring the world for the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Marcelo working the dials for us. We just had a couple of the execs at TRN in the studio, which I don't see them in the studio that often, on Marcelo's side of the studio, where he's at basically command and control, where he can do anything he virtually wants. Including taking me off the air. So in comes like the senior VP and the VP of this and the director of that. And they're like, "Hey, Jerry, how's it going?" And I go, "Am I getting fired?" Because when you see that many suits in one place, it's sometimes it's troubling. We used to have that at Babylon 5. We had a guy that we named Teflon Dick. He was the head of distribution for Warner Brothers. And he would show up once or twice a year. And he always had a hat for every different show in the trunk of his car. So his assistant would be driving with him, and he'd go, "All right, what show are we going to?" ER. And he'd put his ER hat on with his shirt and tie, and he'd walk out on the set, and he'd have lunch with everybody, and then he'd go to the next place, and what set are we on now? Oh, Babylon 5. He put his B5 hat on, he'd walk out on the set. And then if you went out to lunch, they'd have steak and lobster, and they had a sushi bar, and they had ice cream at a stand. Everything was set up. You go, either the ratings are good, or this is the last scene we're going to be shooting forever. So you never really know when the suits show up what's happening. But I know we're on the air, at least for today.
It's so cute that you think so.
Well, thank you very much. So this is actually not going out? Oh, my God. What's the point in wasting 3 hours of oxygen? Brad producing the program. Emails at the website, jerrydoyle.com. Poll question up there for you today. The Obama and Dem hoaxpersons are spinning the latest lousy U.S. economic growth numbers as only the second worst since World War II. The worst happening in 1980-81 under President Reagan. What do you say to this? They're right, but they're still spinning? 0%. 27% say it doesn't matter. Lousy is lousy. And 73% say, give me a deceased Reagan over an alive Obama. We'll take your answer there at the website or here at 800-876-4123 on the program, where we like our flying a little turbulent, our women poquito loco, and our politics a little messy. I was working a little Espanol with Marcelo there before we came on the program because I got some...
When you say the women, the words have female gender, so you have to say loca.
Poquito loca or poquita loca?
Yeah.
Poquita loca?
Yeah.
Is that living la vida loca is just crazy women?
Yeah, well, I don't
crazy
know.
life.
Yes.
Well, that was sung by the guy who we're not sure of anyway, right?
That's right. Well,
So,
we are now. I mean, he...
Oh, that's right. He did. He opened the door from the glass closet and came out. And he was the only one that was in there that nobody can see me. Yes, we could. You just thought you were hiding. All right. I was trying to communicate with my workers here at the house today. We're having a little concrete work done because I got my $261 water bill from the Las Vegas Water Authority, and I was like, you know what, I'm done with you guys. I'm going to do everything I can to possibly absorb as much heat as possible. I'm ripping some grass out, and I'm putting in concrete, and I'm going to raise the overall temperature in my backyard. But I got a hose bib on the side of the house that, for whatever reason, I know the reason, it's because these nut jobs that want you to get like 2 drips an hour coming out of your garden holes put these restrictors on your faucets. And it's like, and then when you turn it on, but you don't let the release go on the hose itself, you start to get all these noises. And it runs up the side of the house right into the studio where I'm doing the show. And I was trying to communicate in a little Espanol, no hoso, senoro. And it wasn't working. So finally, because that's how you speak Spanish if you don't know, is you just put an O on the end of everything, or a, now that we know that there's a female.
No bear, senor.
No bear?
Yeah, like as in bears.
Well, I was right, because there wasn't one in the backyard. There wasn't a bear anywhere to be seen.
Captain Obvious.
Captain Obvious, but I finally got it figured out. No prendas sus mangueras, por favor. No hose, please, right? I'm working. And was it mucho trabajo? Is Geraldo in el studio, el 12 to el 30, something like that, whatever it was.
We're having Geraldo in the studio today as a guest?
Geraldo, yes. I can't. The lights just dim because his mustache is crowding out all the light in the room.
Told him Geraldo in the studio to 30.
Yeah. Should we just do this for the next 3 hours and not actually get around to anything that I've prepped since 4 o'clock this morning? Because this seems to be a lot more fun. Actually, we got some good guests for you. Nick Gillespie is going to join us at the bottom of this hour. Editor-in-chief, Reason.com, Reason TV. He was on CNBC last night with the social issue suck-up, Rick Santorum, talking about Chick-fil-A and the controversy. And Chick-fil-A, it was just a sandwich. And this is a note to the GOP. Stay away from the social issue politics, because when you start to really put it out there and you start to take a look at Chick-fil-A, you start to take a look at other groups that support Chick-fil-A, it's just, you really don't want people to go there to know what some of the things Chick-fil-A is all about. Chicken is supposed to be a sandwich or a game you play, the game of chicken. Chicken is not supposed to be political, but it is when you read the news. The Boston Globe has it. Reuters has it. AP has it. Everybody has Chick-fil-A is now political. And Mondays. Did you see what about Mondays, too? Mondays is now political because they were trying to push this whole idea of meatless Mondays. Like, this is what our government has time to come up with? How do you think we should address the economy and the job problems and the unemployment and the poverty level? I got an idea. What's that, Bill with one L? I think we should go with meatless Mondays.
I thought the Catholics already did that on Friday.
Yeah, right. So there's only 3 days left in the middle of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we can actually have a steak. I'm a buffet believer anyway. I never went that whole Friday thing about, you have to meet. Like people say, well, what did you give up for Lent? Giving up things.
Self-denial.
That's what I gave up for Lent. I'm having a steak. I don't want to have to go to Long John Silver's every Friday and have the supposed fish sticks of whatever the hell is in a fish stick. But we're going to do Chick-fil-A at the bottom of the hour with Nick Gillespie. Noelle Nickpour is going to join us in the next hour, syndicated columnist. And she's got a little interesting article out there about a $180,000 hour prop that our presidents use in an effort to try and get our attention. That would be Air Prop 1. And comedian, star of ABC's Trust Us With Your Life, Greg Proops, is going to be with us in the third hour. He's here in Las Vegas, Empire Comedy, Paris, Las Vegas, tonight, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. And real good guest, interesting guy. And we'll be spending a little bit of time with him on the program. But first, let's spend a little bit of time looking at the economic numbers. U.S. growth slows in the second quarter. 1.5%. How good was it? 4.1% fourth quarter of 2011. Now, here's what they write in many newspapers, left, right, and everything in between. This is why the Republicans have to stay away from the Chick-fil-A nonsense and stick to the economy. Because there are more than 5 newspapers that say this. The numbers are a potential blow to President Obama's re-election campaign. Amen. Hallelujah. Period. Exclamation point. Circle it. Arrows towards it. Put stars next to it. Highlight it. And guess what? The economy is the only issue which voters expressed more confidence in Romney than Obama. The only area, the only issue is the economy where Romney has the edge. They write that the economy is the important issue in this year's election, and more voters believe that the presumptive Republican nominee Mitt Romney would provide better ideas for improvement than the current president. Now, the economy's grown for 12 consecutive quarters. That's what the Democrats are touting. The gains have been mild by historical standards, but they're gains nonetheless. They haven't been enough to significantly bring down the unemployment rate. What's the problem? Consumer spending has slowed. State and local governments have continued to make cuts. And when you take a look at government spending subtracted from overall growth and private sector growth, this comes before the planned federal spending cuts and the tax hikes that are going to start when we hit the fiscal cliff on January 1st. Now, when you take a look at the numbers previous, the latest quarter's small overall gain is consistent, they write, with a recovery as a whole. The second weakest rebound of the post-World War II era. Second quarter of 2009, that's when the recession ended, through 2011, the economy grew 5.8%. There was only one four-quarter period, 1980-81, Reagan time, when the economy grew 4.4%, which was weaker than any recovery in the last 60 years. So you see which way the Dems are going to go with this. Even Ronald Reagan, the revered Ronald Reagan of the Republican Party, had a worse economic rebound than the current supposed socialist, communist, whatever you want to call him, Barack Obama. So obviously the Democrats are going to say, what we're doing is working. But just like in the poll question and the answer, give me a deceased Reagan over an alive Obama. Lessons from the grave of Ronald Reagan need to be looked at by this administration as a blueprint for what needs to be done in order to get done what Reagan was able to get done. And even though the recovery during that time frame under Reagan was slower, when it actually started to turn, it exploded. And that's because of 4 simple principles that Reagan instituted, Congress acted on, and the economy responded to. Reaganomics versus Obamanomics. Now, in the inaugural address, this is what Obama said. The question we ask today is not whether our government is too big or too small, but whether it works, whether it helps families find jobs at a decent wage, care that they can afford, a retirement that is dignified. One of his hoaxpersons says, what will have the biggest impact and the most immediate impact on creating private sector jobs and strengthening the middle class? We're guided by what works, not by an ideology or special interest. That was what he said, the redistributor-in-chief, Obama, in his inaugural address. And all he has done is follow the ideology of the latter, not the former President Reagan, whose principles turned around a worse economy than this supposedly the worst economy since the Great Depression.
The Jerry Doyle Show.
Very simple principles. I'll give them to you when we get back. The numbers were worse for Reagan, inherited from Carter. The recovery, immediate and sustained creation of jobs out the wazoo. Like I said, sometimes you can learn a lot from a deceased former president than you can from a brain-dead current one. Stick with me.
This is the Jerry Doyle Show.